State lawmakers preparing for a juvenile crime hearing this week. What could be discussed and why top prosecutors are not happy with the current juvenile justice system.
We're really committed to using every tool available.
Eric Barron taking to the airwaves to combat gun violence, while the U.S. Attorney for Maryland hopes a public service announcement will get his message across. And a live look at M&T Bank Stadium as the Ravens open their season with a win over Houston. Highlights from the game and some not so good news on the injury front.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Juvenile crime on the minds of leaders in Baltimore and across the state as prosecutors continue to call for changes in the juvenile justice laws in Annapolis. This week, that process could get underway.
So it's almost a revolving door. It's a game. I'm not saying we need to blow it up, but we definitely need to make some sort of changes.
Good evening, I'm Mackenzie Frost. Mary has the night off. The House Judiciary Committee is set to hear from state's attorneys and the Department of Juvenile Services in an effort to understand the juvenile crime crisis. Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates calling for changes to the Juvenile Justice Reform Act and the Juvenile Interrogation Act. From stolen cars skyrocketing to gun violence, juveniles are finding themselves as perpetrators and victims in the latest crime crisis.
I think everybody recognizes that we need to do something.
Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates pushing for policy change in Annapolis, taking aim at the current laws he says are handcuffing prosecutors and police, keeping them from ensuring young offenders face consequences.
And the time is now. They're really looking at these issues.
Examples of growing frustration continue to mount. Parents telling Fox 45 News the juvenile justice system isn't working. A mom whose 14-year-old daughter stealing cars despite being on home monitoring.
She stole the vehicle. They called me so abruptly in the middle of the day. I let them know that she does this. She get in trouble every day. They need to start locking these kids up. They need to change the laws.
And another mom telling Fox 45 News her son's troubling behavior finding its way into her own home.
I saw shell casings in his room from him shooting a gun.
Police showing up at her house armed with a search warrant.
And they said it was for armed robbery and assault.
Right now, kids 13 years old and younger cannot be charged with certain crimes, including stolen cars. Giving more options to prosecutors is something Bates says lawmakers need to make happen.
We need to be able to deal with all felonies, and not just all felonies, but some specific misdemeanors, all handguns and thefts of vehicles.
Police cannot question kids as a suspect or a witness without notifying parents and getting the green light from an attorney. It's part of the Juvenile Interrogation Act. And Bates says not only does he believe the law hinders investigations, but he questions the legal standing.
I strongly believe it's unconstitutional.
Why?
I believe that we're trying to take away some rights by acting like we're giving any others. And that's unfortunately what I feel is the beginning of the end. We must protect the rights of the minors as well as making sure parents have the right to be parents to their children. You understand the good intentions, but it's gone too far. It's violating people's constitutional rights.
Without changes, Bates argued
U.S. Attorney Eric Barron says he hopes just 60 seconds will change someone's mind when it comes to picking up a gun.
It takes a lot of communication.
U.S. Attorney Eric Barron sitting down with Fox 45 to discuss his new crime-fighting strategy, a first of its kind for his office. You said it's something that your office has never done before, so the big question, why now?
I'm committed to not just doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
Taking that fight right to your television screen through a public service announcement about gun violence.
One thing we haven't done in this fight is, from our agency, promote a public awareness campaign.
We got an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at that campaign, which includes a starring role by Barron himself.
It's a drama and an appeal to emotion. Obviously, something bad has happened. We're in a classroom setting. We're really committed to using every tool available.
Barron says one of the most important tools in curbing crime, family. How important is the role of family in this fight against crime and gun violence?
It's huge, and we don't talk about it enough. Bullets don't just rip through individuals, they rip through families, through households. They have huge impacts on those that we love.
What is your hope for this public service announcement?
The hope really is that this, in conjunction with all the other things that we're working on, is that some individuals out there may take a pause from either committing violence or being around others who are committing violence. And many of us, we might not think about the consequences for ourselves, but we care about our mother, our grandmother, our sister.
Barron says since his time in office and working with the state's attorney, Ivan Bates, and the Baltimore Police Department, he has seen a reduction in crime, but there's still a lot of work to be done when it comes to getting guns off the streets. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Fox 45 News has done extensive reporting on the crime crisis in Maryland. You can find all of our coverage online right now at foxbaltimore.com. Football is back. The Ravens opened their 2023 season with a win over the Houston Texans, but it wasn't all good news. Rocco DeSangro joins us live with an update. Rocco, tell us what happened.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Mackenzie. Some good, some bad, some ugly. The Ravens season opener really had it all. But at the end of the day, a 1-0 start to the year is what matters most to John Harbaugh and the players on this team. Mark Andrews inactive for this one. First quarter, J.K. Dobbins soars through the air for the 4-yard touchdown. Ravens strike first. In the third, Lamar Jackson, going to kind of feed the hot hand, goes right back to Dobbins. He's tackled at the 2, and he would leave the game and did not return. Very next play, Justice Hill going to find pay dirt. First of 2 touchdowns for 4-3 as the Ravens beat the Texans 25-9. Here's John Harbaugh with an update on J.K., and it's not a good one.
J.K. has a torn Achilles, unfortunately, so that's going to end his season. That's just feel bad for him. It's not the way we expected this to go. And he's worked really hard, but J.K. is a strong-minded individual. He's got a big heart, very large spirit, and he's going to bounce back from this as well.
So Dobbins done for the year. Just brutal news for him and the Ravens as a team. We're going to have a full recap of the game and so much more when Sports Unlimited returns. Mackenzie.
All right, Rocco, thanks. Coming up, a new lead in the manhunt for an escaped killer in Pennsylvania, where police say he was spotted and how he's changed.
From mask mandates to vaccine announcements, I'm Christine Frizzell with a look at how COVID politics are becoming once again a central theme on the campaign trail.
And some showers around now, but by the bus stop forecast, most of those should be gone as we drop down to about 68 as the kids are heading on off. And as they're coming back, about 83 in the afternoon for pickup time, partly cloudy skies, but better rain chances coming this week with a strong cold front. I'll let you know how that could interact with very strong and strengthening Hurricane Lee off the coast. That's up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Baltimore police are investigating a body found along Bowleys Lane in Northeast Baltimore. Saturday afternoon, police received a call about a body found in the woods. Officers say there were signs of trauma. This is a developing story, and anyone with information is asked to contact the Baltimore Police Department. We're also learning more about a shooting along North Point Road in Dundalk. It happened just before 11 o'clock last night. Police say a man was taken to a nearby hospital. Anyone with information should contact Metro Crime Stoppers. And the search continues for a convicted killer who's been on the run in Pennsylvania for more than a week. Police releasing these images of Danilo Cavalcante, saying he seems to have changed his appearance. He was last spotted last night around about 20 miles from where police were searching after police say he stole a van.
He slipped that perimeter. He got out. We found the vehicle. We found where he abandoned it fairly quickly. I am confident that we will continue aggressively proceeding on this search and this investigation, and we will eventually capture him.
Cavalcante has been on the run since August 31st, just 2 weeks after he was convicted in the murder of his girlfriend. And Michigan State football coach Mel Tucker has been suspended without pay over sexual harassment allegations. Tucker is accused of having non-consensual phone sex with a woman named Brenda Tracy, an activist against sexual violence. Tracy, a rape survivor, had been invited to Michigan State on several occasions to meet with the football team. She says Tucker had several inappropriate conversations with her. Tucker has denied any wrongdoing. A formal hearing will be held on October 5th. And tomorrow marks the 22nd anniversary of the September 11th terrorist attacks, and we're learning 2 more victims have been identified. A man and woman killed at the World Trade Center were identified this weekend, but the remains of more than 1,100 people are still unidentified. To mark the day, tomorrow, the White House is expected to award $4 million to the 9/11 Memorial in New York City.
We are tracking the approach of our next weather maker. This latest weather maker giving us a rain over the weekend, kind of a little bit messy, both our Saturday and Sunday, and still some leftover around Severna Park, as well as Selby on the Bay, just really south and east of Baltimore toward Perryville, and then Sudlersville on the eastern shore. We'll zoom out a little bit. And you see out to the west, there's a few more showers and thunderstorms. I think most of this dries up overnight. And should be a primarily dry day as we head into tomorrow, but there's more rain and thunderstorm activity out to the west. And that actually could be some good news for our forecast as we head into this week. Not only going to bring some fall-like weather, but also could help us prevent the tropics from getting a little too close for comfort. So let's go ahead and take a look outside right now. My one Towson Camp, 75 degrees, not far from where the State Fair is wrapping up. Mostly cloudy skies with winds that are calm. Our humidity at 84%, and it also feels like 75 degrees. There's that weather maker I was talking about. Lots of humidity on the eastern side, and that's where we've kind of been all weekend long. This front, it's a rather weak one, but as it does glide east a little bit tomorrow, I think will lessen the chance of rain. But there's another round of showers and storms with noticeably drier air over the Midwest, and that is going to get here with cooler air too, maybe highs only in the 70s for the middle of this week. And again, that's going to be good news for us because take a look out here. Lee is in the central Atlantic right now, a Category 3 hurricane, winds at 120 miles an hour. This could tip out again at a Category 4. This thing's been fluctuating in strength over the weekend, and then it makes that curve. Once it interacts with that front in that disturbance that's out to our west right now, makes a curve northbound. And we're going to have to hold on to see exactly where this thing goes. The idea is that the front and the disturbance are strong enough to push us northbound and eventually maybe into coastal Canada. There are some computer models, though, that are saying that that front disturbance kind of weaken as we head towards the end of this week. And then the storms allow it to kind of curve backward toward New England. So that's another solution we could be watching. Either way, at this point, it does look like it should be far enough offshore that all we get, again, at the Maryland and the Delaware beaches, is going to be a whole heck of a lot of surf as well as potential rip currents. Look, by the end of this week, some of these seas monstrous, up to about 10 to 17 feet just offshore. So not going to be a great weekend for the beach if you have any early season, I guess we should say late season, early fall potential beach plans here. You may want to stay out of the water late this week into early weekend before the seas die down. Now, also out in the tropics, Margot. By the way, today is climatologically the peak of hurricane season, so not a surprise that this is so active. And then there's also a medium chance of development that could become our next tropical depression and then gobble up this additional chance of tropical development over the next several days. So lots to watch here and lots to track. So future scan overnight, some scattered showers, maybe a rumble of thunder. Should taper by tomorrow morning's commute, but notice by tomorrow afternoon, still a little chance of an isolated shower or storm. Doesn't look quite as widespread as what we've been seeing around here. We'll keep a 20% chance in there. On Tuesday, a better risk of showers and storms late in the day. And then again on Wednesday, there's your cold front. Again, that should keep the tropics out of here as we head towards the end of the week into next weekend. Look at those gorgeous temperatures, lows in the low to mid 50s.
All right, Jonathan, thanks. COVID infections are on the rise again, up nearly 15% nationwide over the past week. With the resurgence of the virus, we're also seeing a return of COVID politics. National correspondent Christine Frizzell explains.
New COVID cases, hospitalizations, and deaths have prompted a new round of rules for some in the country. At the University of Maryland, a new requirement: all students living on campus will need to isolate at their permanent home or another off-campus location if they test positive. An elementary school in the state mandating masks for 10 days, with this prediction from Dr. Anthony Fauci.
I can see that if we get a significant uptick in cases, that you may see the recommendation that masks be used under certain circumstances in indoor crowded settings. But I don't see there be certainly not federal mandates.
Despite that and the relatively rare number of examples of mandates, the issue is animating candidates on the campaign trail.
To every COVID tyrant who wants to take away our freedom, hear these words: we will not comply.
But Georgia Governor Brian Kemp fired back on X, formerly known as Twitter. The fact is, former President Trump led the opposition to my decision to reopen Georgia. He may not remember, but I sure as hell do. This debate is unfolding as the CDC's independent panel of advisors is expected to recommend a new booster shot this week, a prospect already facing pushback, especially in the state of Florida, where cases and hospitalization rates are among the highest in the country.
There's been no clinical trial showing that it is a safe product for people.
For others, there are simply too many questions still out there.
You do want to know, if I took the vaccine, is my death rate less than if I didn't take the vaccine? What if I've already had it? Some of us see Big Pharma so involved with this that we wonder whether the recommendations have something to do with the profits of Big Pharma.
Overall, top health officials confident between the vaccines and previous infections, our immunity is widespread. But old worries are bringing the return of some old policies, reinvigorating the debate over COVID-19. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Hey, this Raven Nation, we here, we live.
Ravens fans out in full force for the season opener. Some of the sights and sounds from the tailgate lots just ahead. It was an opening weekend full of excitement and anticipation in Baltimore. Fox 45's Taylor Stewart gives us an inside look at the Ravens' season opener from the fans' perspective.
All right, it may be just day one, but let me tell you where the flock knows we're headed. Where are we going? Where are we going?
Super Bowl! To the Super Bowl! The Super Bowl!
Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
It's Houston, Texas. Like, they can't stand up to us. Like, come on now.
But the flock has always been a confident bunch.
Odell Beckham, touchdown. Zay Flowers, touchdown. Calling it.
Diehards.
Been out here since 6 o'clock this morning, baby. Hey, this Raven Nation, we here, we live.
Rain or shine.
It was raining when we got here. It don't stop us. Real Raven fans do real Raven thing.
Hyped. Very hyped.
Because their man is back.
Lamar Jackson, the best in the nation. Best quarterback ever, man.
He's the best quarterback in the league, and that's really all there is to it.
Jackson hasn't played since last December when he exited the game early with a knee injury. But as tens of tailgaters fire up the grills, share a six-pack. Think of Sunday's season opener against the Texans like a family reunion.
That's what's important. Be family, be happy.
With a whole lot of birds ready to clinch some wins.
Let's get it, Flock. Let's be here for the upset. Let's go, Houston.
And remind the entire league. Taylor Stewart, Fox 45 News.
Still ahead, lingering COVID questions as we learn more about the virus and the vaccine, why doctors worldwide are seeking one man's help. That's ahead on Full Measure. Scientists are starting to unravel some of the questions surrounding long-term COVID infections, as well as the vaccine's impact. Many doctors adjusting to new information on the virus every day. Full Measure's Cheryl Atkinson spoke to a doctor whose help is being sought across the world.
If there's a singular person that first set the gears turning for Dr. Jordan Vaughn, it's Vandiver Chaplin.
Big deep breath in out.
It was December 2020, shortly after his COVID vaccines.
What were you feeling?
I just felt terrible, dizzy, lethargic, all those kind of things. And I was having some optical issues too.
You're kind of patient zero for Dr. Vaughn.
Well, that's what he told me. All I did was go get my vaccines and react to it.
Dr. Vaughn is an internal medicine specialist and CEO of MedHealth Clinics in Alabama. He ran some scans and other tests on Vandiver, his longtime patient, but didn't find anything abnormal.
And at that time, I did some blood work, found that he had abnormal clotting issues. He was significantly short of breath.
The abnormal blood clotting issues were there all along, says Vaughn, just hidden from view.
As I understand it, I was making lots of blood clots, but they were so tiny you couldn't detect them.
So I treated him as if he had something that I wasn't able to totally see, which would be smaller vascular issues, and his symptoms significantly improved. So that really pushed me off on a journey to say, what is going on here? There's got to be something there.
Dr. Vaughn was on to something. By the time we visited his Birmingham practice, he and his team had treated more than 1,100 patients, from athletes in their teens to people pushing age 90. Together, Vaughn and his small team are unraveling some of the emerging mysteries that, for whatever reason, have become taboo to discuss in some practices, especially when it crosses into vaccine adverse events.
I always say it's almost like there's two worlds. There's before COVID and after COVID. And a lot of doctors are still living in the before COVID world where everything's in the textbook. People would come to me.
Vaughn thinks he's figured out why people who've had both COVID and COVID vaccines often seem to get the sickest. And it has to do with what's seen in these immunofluorescent images, something called fibrin.
So we are designed all to make fibrin. Fibrin's one of the first kind of response mechanisms.
Forms a clot if you're injured or
Yeah,
something?
it's like trauma, infection, all those kind of things. You're going to make fibrin as a response to that. But the fibrin you usually make is, again, like spaghetti that just came out of the colander. But the fibrin that you make in response to a spike protein that's associated with COVID and the vaccine is kind of like burnt spaghetti with cheese in it that you have to get a Brillo pad and get it off the bottom of a casserole dish with. And if you can't get rid of them, they sludge up the small vessels and inhibit the delivery of substrates. And those are things like red blood cells, which carry oxygen. And so in that case, if you can't get oxygen to tissues, you're going to have significant dysfunction at every level.
Today, Vaughn and his team are fielding requests for help from as far away as Germany, conducting original research and sharing what they're learning. For Full Measure, I'm Cheryl Atkinson.
Full Measure Cheryl Atkinson will be hosting a town hall focusing on the long-term impacts of the coronavirus. That's coming up on Tuesday at 7 p.m. It will be available to stream on our website at foxbaltimore.com. The Ravens gave Houston all sorts of problems in their season opening win, but the team suffered a big loss in the process. Game highlights and injury updates ahead on Sports Unlimited. That's all for the news at 10. I'm Mackenzie Frost. Thank you so much for watching. Morgan Edson, Rocco DeSangro join us now with Sports Unlimited. Morgan, Rocco, take it.
Thanks, Mackenzie. Coming up tonight on Sports Unlimited, the Ravens made their long-awaited return to the field and opened their season with a win over Houston, but it did not come without a loss.
Absolutely right, Morgan. Injuries have been brutal to the Ravens over the years. No different in 2023 as one of their biggest names suffers the season ender, the second of his young career.
Another season-ending injury for running back J.K. Dobbins. A third-quarter torn Achilles ended his final year under contract. Where the Ravens' backfield goes from here.
The Ravens unveil their new offense and offseason acquisitions in front of the home crowd. What worked and what needs to improve for Lamar and company after 1 week of play.
And to the Orioles, a loss in Boston snapped their 7-game winning streak. But on the lighter side, the return of John Means has a date, and it's this week. Sports Unlimited starts after this. A Week 1 win for the Ravens, but a major loss for the season and a handful of other injuries. TBD on the others, but Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins is done for the season. A torn Achilles in the third quarter and the season opener at home with Houston. Not great. Hey, everyone, welcome to Sports Unlimited. I'm Morgan Atzett. He's Rocco DeSangro. The Ravens took care of business in Week 1, but you can't help to think what they lost.
No, absolutely, Morgan. Running back J.K. Dobbins done for the season. The same fate for him just 2 years ago. More on that in just a bit. But let's get our first look at the Ravens in 2023. Ravens football back in full force. Zay Flowers, OBJ, and Todd Monken's new offense making their long-awaited debuts. Mark Andrews among the inactives after Lamar and the O go 3 and out. Texans with the ball. 4th and 1. Patrick Queen in like a heat-seeking missile welcomes rookie C.J. Stroud to the NFL with a sack. Ravens take over on downs. Lamar and the guys going to work in the red zone. That was the Ravens' kryptonite in 2022. Jackson off his back foot, picked off by Steven Nelson. So Houston takes over on O. Stroud and the Texans go 3 and out. Jackson with new life connects with Zay Flowers. That's a gain of 21 for the rookie. 2 plays later, Air Jordan will get to know Air Dobbins. J.K. leaps into the end zone for the first touchdown of the year. 7-0 Ravens. The Texans would get on the board with 4 minutes to go in the half. Keami Fairbairn, good from 35, 7-3 ball game. Texans back with the ball. 30 seconds to go in the half. 3rd and 15 for Stroud and company. Pass falls incomplete. Travis Jones flagged for roughing the passer. The drive continues. Fairbairn again as the clock hits 0. Good from 38. Ravens led 7-6 at the break to the 3rd. 2nd and goal for the Ravens. Jackson fires right to J.K. Dobbins. Brought down at about the 2. Dobbins slow to get up. He would limp off the field and head to the locker room. The very next play, Justice Hill in the backfield. Justice Hill in the end zone. Successful two-point conversion makes it 15-6. Hill, he wasn't done. He was back for seconds. He entered this game with 2 career touchdowns. How about matching that today with his first ever multi-score game? Ravens lead 22-6. Let's go to the 4th. Ravens looking to close it out. Texans would cut the lead to 13 on another Fairbairn field goal, makes it 22-9. 10 minutes to go in the game. Ravens on defense. You remember those concerns about the pass rush going into the season? I do. I think David Ojabo heard all the noise. Strip sacks C.J. Stroud. Michael Pierce recovers. Ensuing offensive possession. Justin Tucker. How about some insurance? Drills the field goal from 39 yards out, and the Ravens open the season with a win, 25-9, the final score.
That's a beginning, start of the season. Now we're off and running. You know, we have an opportunity to kind of see where we're at, and we get an opportunity also to do it with a win. So we're very happy about that. That's the way you want to open the season. With that, we know there's so many things that we need to work on to get better at, and that's what we'll do starting on Monday.
As mentioned earlier in the show, the Ravens lost RB1. J.K. Dobbins, after 8 carries, 22 yards and a touchdown, another 15 yards receiving, was tackled to the ground in the 3rd. Dobbins immediately popped up and took himself out of the game. Originally called an ankle, but it's a torn Achilles. His season is done. Sadly, this has been the theme for Dobbins with the Ravens. After he became the clear-cut best running back for the Ravens his rookie season, he had the preseason knee injury in 2021 that caused him to miss some time even last season. And in Game 1 of the new season, Dobbins leaves early in his 4th season, a contract year where he had a hold-in during camp. Now it's done. His team definitely feeling this dark cloud after a season opener W.
Kind of crestfallen for him, you know. It's so many guys, you know. There's so many guys you feel excited for. So many guys you look at and say, okay, we got to work on this. And then J.K., who has this just unfortunate thing happen to him, you know. And he was playing well. So, but really, we'll put our arms around him. You know, he'll get into rehab and he will be back. He's a young guy.
I mean, you can't replace a JK, you know, special guy, you know, both, you know, football-wise and personality-wise. You know, he helps keep this team moving and all that. So, obviously, absolute gut punch and heartbreaking, and I know